Hey everybody, we're going to try doing a 2-point perspective castle, like a really simple one, okay? So one of the first things you do when you start learning 2-point perspective is draw a box form, and then if you don't want it to be a box, then you make it a castle or a street corner or something like that. So it's not super exciting, okay, but learning how to draw in perspective is pretty interesting. So let's give it a try. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put 2 vanishing points on the edges of our paper, okay? And a lot of times you want those vanishing points to be off the paper somewhere by extending the paper or putting some tabs of paper or something on there. But for now, we're just going to draw smaller in the middle of our paper. So we got these 2 vanishing points. This is 2-point perspective. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a horizon line, okay? Even though we really don't need it much for this, just to have those both be on the same line, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a castle. So I'm not super worried if all of these lines are completely straight, at least the vertical ones or anything like that. But so what I'm going to do is draw mostly a vertical line. If you want to use a ruler or straight edge for this, you can, okay? But what we really want to do is make sure that these lines go over here and they connect to the vanishing point. So that's where we're going to use the straight edge, okay? I'm only going to draw part of it, okay? Because I want this to be more interesting than just a box. So I'm going to draw those 2 lines going that way and that way. And then I'm going to draw these top 2 lines going down here and here. So that's going to be the beginning of our castle, all right? And then I'm going to go ahead and stop part of the wall here, okay, and here. And then I'm actually going to draw a couple of towers onto the edge of the castle. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So if these walls are going back, okay, and then, well, let's go ahead and draw the door for now, okay? So what I want to is I kind of sketch where I want the door to be so I have an idea, and then I'll use perspective to make it work better, okay? So I'll put these 2 lines on here, and then I need to figure out how the angle of the top works. So I'll line that up here, and there. Now we have the angle. So now we have like the door in our cube, okay? So let's make a tower on the side. So if this is going back this way, then the tower needs to turn and the corner needs to come back at us, which means we're going to use this vanishing point over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to line that up, and we're going to make the wall turn and come out this way a little bit, okay? So we can turn this into a tower. I'm going to make it connect here, even though I might want it to be taller than the other wall. So I'm going to draw that line a little bit taller, and then what I can do is I can come over here and draw this line back this way, and I can make this little tower here a little bit taller than this basic line, okay? And then I'm going to connect this line here. And I don't want to get too close to my vanishing point because you're going to notice that everything gets squished down, okay, and really distorted as it gets close to the vanishing point. So I want to stop before I get there. You're going to notice this one is really starts to like drag itself down, and the distortion gets to be a little strange looking. And so that's one reason to move these vanishing points way off of the page. But you see we've got kind of our tower shape going there. And then we're going to do something similar on the other side as well. So we'll draw this out off of this corner a little bit, and then we'll do this. And this won't be a tower so much as it will just be a turn in the wall of the castle. And then we'll go ahead and give it a line here, and then we can make it go all the way back into space if we want to by using the vanishing point, okay? So So we can do that and make it look like it disappears into space. But if you don't like that look so much, then just let this line flow right off of the page, and then we'll just make this wall go all the way off of the page, and we'll kind of ignore this part back here. In a moment I'll show you kind of what we're talking about. So here's our tower, here's our castle. Let's make the drawbridge, or at least the bridge coming out. We can worry about whether it's an actual drawbridge or not later. So I'm going to draw from this line, this vanishing point going out this way, and I'm going to draw from this line and this vanishing point going out this way. Okay, so that would not really be the full drawbridge, so we have to kind of figure out where the end of the bridge would be. Okay, so we don't have to make it perfect, okay, but we need to make this shape seem like it would actually fit that shape. And so then we can kind of cut that off there, and maybe that would actually be the drawbridge, and then the rest of this would just be the path leading up to the castle. So there's a lot of ways to think about this to make it look more or less realistic. So let's add a couple of other things just as far as details go. So if we want to make it look like it's made of brick, then we're going to mark where we want each brick to start. Okay, and then we can start texturing the castle. Now this takes some time, but what you're going to do is you're just going to follow those lines, and you're going to line up with the vanishing point, and you're going to draw to here and here and here, always going to each vanishing point. When you're below the horizon line now, that line's going to go upwards, upwards, and upwards. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. And then where these lines touch here and the wall starts to go off the other way, we've got to use the other vanishing point. So we're going to use this vanishing point. It's way across the paper here, but since we decided this was going to go all the way off the page, we're just going to draw it all the way off the page. Now it goes upwards slightly. Okay. So you get the idea. So we're going back and then to there. Okay. Right now it doesn't really look like brick. It looks more like wood paneling, which I guess you could build yourself a wood paneled castle. Probably be easy to get into with a fire. So then we're going to do a similar idea here. We're going to go this way, and we'll go across to here. And once it hits there, we'll use the other vanishing point again to go to there. And then we'll use this vanishing point to go to here. Okay? And so that's how you would start lining out all of those bricks and everything. So let me hit pause, and you can hit pause as well and finish all of the horizontal bricks, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more detail. Alright, so we got that all kind of figured out. Now this line is the horizon line right here, and it sort of ended up as one of my bricks, but if the horizon line is completely horizontal, it sometimes looks a little strange. So I'm gonna just adjust this line a little bit so it becomes more of a line that follows the perspective line and not just the horizon line. Okay, so now I can start adding the actual stonework if I want to. So there's a way to figure out exactly how big the bricks are, but in general, if they're closer to you, they're wider and they get smaller as they go back. But we don't have that much space in our picture, so we probably don't need to worry about it too much. So what I'm going to do is create this brick pattern here as I go through. And I want to try to keep these as vertical as I can. So sometimes it's a good idea to draw a couple of guidelines so that you don't let your lines lean over too much, okay? And so those guidelines kind of help you, okay? Because already it's leaning a little bit. So I'm gonna skip every other brick and we'll put some of these lines into here to create the idea that these are brick, okay? And so if that one is a long one, then we'll make this one shorter. We'll go every other one here, okay? And we might as well do something similar. We should probably keep it the same on both sides. So if this one's flat, then we'll go here, 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 here. We'll put one in the middle. Then because this door just barely didn't touch there, I'm probably going to make it just a little bit taller. And we'll just say that it lines up right with that piece there, okay? So we've got this basic idea, and then making the actual crenellations on the top, which is that word that means where the castle lines goes up and down. We can try something here to see if we can get that to work out a little bit. So you've got to divide these up into mostly square shapes, okay? And then we'll see if we can get these to look more three-dimensional, like there's a space in between. So what I want to do is, if this is the corner here, that's probably going to be a solid block, the corner, and this is going to be an empty space, which means I'm going to look to my vanishing point to help me see how to draw this line back here, and then erase that part. And you can see that now it looks more three-dimensional. Okay, like there's actually some space there, okay, and you can erase that again, and then now you have those spaces open. If you don't want this line to be so thick, you can actually thin out the space by going horizontally or vertically there, and then you can have that crenellation be that way. So you can use your ruler, or if you're feeling confident about eyeballing everything, you can think about where things are. Once you start to understand this, you won't necessarily need to use your ruler for every single line, okay? You can start to just estimate it, okay, with your eye, and you can get much closer, okay? Well, not closer, but you can get close enough in order to make these things look three-dimensional still. So even over all the way over here, okay, I'll just estimate where that space is, and now I've got the tower going on here as well, okay? So let's spend just a little bit more time on the bricks, and then we'll go ahead and cut a window and door in there. And we'll call it good for this simple castle. Okay, so that works pretty well. I've got most of my bricks in here. I can start adding some shading to some of these areas to help them stand out a little bit more, okay, and look a little bit more three-dimensional. I'll have to think about where the light's coming from. I can add a little texture here to the bricks and start to make them have some character. If they're, you know, perfectly cut and dressed stone that fits perfectly together, then they won't have any space in between them, okay? And they'll just really like fit nicely together. But let's say it's an older castle, then we can start to add a little bit of texture to the stone, okay, and round things a little bit more, and you can see that I'm starting to get a little more texture to it. So maybe the mortar is darker that holds the stones together, and then I can even start to add some texture or shading to the actual stone and make it look like it's weathered and rough as well. Okay, and you can see how you can start to spend some time on the texture and create the weathered look for the stone of the castle. Okay, and some can be darker or lighter depending on where the light is hitting them. Okay, we can even make these stones at the top look more rounded. Okay, and they can start to have some texture on them as well, and so you can continue to work on that. So maybe the last thing that we'll show, this goes off into space here, but we can make the wall come out so that it was all sort of enclosed at the end. But maybe the last thing we'll show here is how to make this look like it has thickness to it. So we're going to go back into space here and make it look like you can walk actually into the castle. Okay, and so now it looks sort of like a hallway, but if you don't want it to just be straight all the way back, then you can stop the line of the castle wall there, and you can make a corner here as well, and this will come out from here, and then you can kind of make it look like there's space into the castle that you could walk into. There would be space through there. You can make that look darker, okay, if you want to shade everything in a little bit so it kind of is dark inside. Maybe it's lighter, I don't know. Okay, so you can decide if there's a roof on this. This is probably in shadow. Okay, and so then you can also make the drawbridge look like it has a little thickness to it by coming out from here and here and making the drawbridge look like it's not a piece of paper, but actually maybe a thicker piece of wood. And then following your vanishing point lines again, you can come out from here and you can draw boards to make that look more like wood. Maybe put some texture on it. If you wanted it to be a drawbridge, then this is one of the only times when you actually don't use your vanishing point, but you draw a diagonal line that goes from the castle wall down to the corner there, and then that would be the drawbridge. Now, I don't know, this is a pretty strong little wire here to hold that, so maybe you want to turn that into a chain or something like that to add to the details. But this gives you a basic idea of how to begin working on two-point perspective. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who have drawn something similar to this that can give you some guidance as well, but this gives you a starting point for doing the castle in two-point perspective. So give it a shot. Spend a little time adding detail if you want to, and hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you guys later. Bye.